Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. We are pushing onward through the incredible story of the Apollo program, step by audacious step.
It really has been quite a journey so far.
Absolutely. We've covered those crucial early orbital tests. We felt the gravity, literally, of Apollo 8 taking humans around the moon for the first time.
A landmark moment, no question.
And then Apollo 9, that intricate ballet in Earth orbit, proving the lunar module, the LM, could actually fly and dock.
Which was fundamental, obviously, for any landing attempt.
Each one built on the last, creating this unstoppable momentum, didn't it, towards that huge goal? And now here we are, right on the edge, the very precipice of humanity's greatest adventure, just one single mission away from that one giant leap.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, our focus is squarely on Apollo 10. It's almost always called the dress rehearsal for the moon landing.
That's the popular tag, yeah.
But calling it just a dress rehearsal, I feel like that almost undersells it. This wasn't simply a run-through. It was the ultimate validation under pressure. A full-up mission systems test in the actual environment.
Exactly. Imagine testing every single component, every single procedure for a lunar landing. Pushing the spacecraft, the crew, ground control, everything, right to the absolute limit. Flying down to just, 9 miles above the surface?
About 9 miles, yeah. Incredibly close.
And this is the key thing without actually landing. The tension of that, the sheer audacity of getting so close but holding back.
For the bigger picture, the strategic goal.
Right. That's what we're diving into today. It's about the precision, the bravery, and that unwavering discipline that really paved the way for Apollo 11.
And for our deep dive today, we're really leaning on some fantastic historical sources. Works like Apollo by the Numbers, which gives us all those crucial stats, the timelines, the detailed narratives. It helps you appreciate the scale of it, both human and technical.
Goes beyond just the stories.
It does. And we're also drawing from the broader NASA history series, the official Apollo program resources. They provide that essential context, the overall goals, the spacecraft specifics, the mission details. It gives us a really rich, complete picture of this pivotal time.
So you might be asking, okay, if they didn't land, why does Apollo 10 matter so much?
It's a fair question.
And what's fascinating here is that it answered the questions that Apollo 8, just orbiting, and Apollo 9, just testing the LM near Earth, simply couldn't answer.
Right. You need to put it all together in lunar orbit.
It built those final, absolutely essential layers of confidence. Confidence in the hardware, which was incredibly complex, and confidence in the human procedures. You needed both before you could even think about attempting that first landing.
Absolutely critical.
So this isn't just looking back at history. It's a deep dive into that meticulous planning, the sheer guts of the crew, and the brilliance required to turn this impossible-seeming goal into something real.
Hey.
It's the final, nail-biting prep work for one of history's biggest moments. Now, every big adventure needs its heroes, right? And Apollo 10 had an amazing crew, a real trio of trailblazers.
Absolutely. A very experienced crew.
We're talking Commander Thomas Stafford, Command Module Pilot John Young, and Lunar Module Pilot Eugene Cernan. These weren't rookies. These were seasoned astronauts, chosen specifically for their experience, their flying skills,
Up-tier pilots, all of them.
and the immense trust NASA put in them to pull off this incredibly high-stakes dress rehearsal without a hitch. Their combined experience really set the stage.
And if you look at Commander Thomas Stafford, his background was already impressive before Apollo 10. He flew Gemini 6A.
The first rendezvous, right?
The very first space rendezvous with Gemini 7, exactly. Hugely important. Then he commanded Gemini 9A, refining those skills even further. Stafford had this reputation, for being incredibly meticulous, almost like a surgeon in his approach to testing.
Precision was key.
And strong, calm leadership. For Apollo 10, his job wasn't just commanding the whole show, but specifically managing that complex LM descent. Pushing the systems, understanding every little detail of how it performed, making sure every procedure was rock solid, all without actually landing. His calmness under pressure was vital.
Then you have John Young, the command module pilot. What a character.
Oh, absolutely. One of a kind.
Known for amazing flying skills, but also that dry wit, right? He'd already flown 2 Gemini missions, faced some real challenges up there.
Experience, no doubt.
On Apollo 10, his job was piloting the command module, Charlie Brown, while Stafford and Cernan were off doing their thing in the LM.
Making that close approach.
Young was orbiting the moon alone. He was the home base, the anchor, keeping track of them, managing Charlie Brown's systems, making sure everything was perfect for their return, and ultimately getting everyone safely back to Earth. He had a massive responsibility orbiting up there by himself.
It's solitary, but absolutely crucial role.
Totally. And rounding up the trio, Eugene Cernan, the lunar module pilot,
Another key figure.
Hmm.
Cernan had also flown Gemini 9A, had a really tough spacewalk on that mission that tested his limits, but definitely showed his resilience.
He had that adventurous spirit, didn't he?
He really did. And combined with his hands-on expertise with the lunar module, he was the perfect fit. On Apollo 10, he was the one actively piloting Snoopy down to that record low altitude,
Yeah.
experiencing the moon up close like almost no one else had.
Imagine that view.
He was operating Snoopy's systems, doing the critical navigation, the rendezvous burns,
Yeah.
really putting the LM through its paces in that tough lunar environment. And that close encounter, that experience, was essential for understanding the ground truth verifying procedures.
Building confidence for the real thing.
Precisely. And it's no accident, really, that Cernan later commanded Apollo 17 and became the last man to walk on the moon. The experience gained here was foundational.
So you've got these three distinct personalities. Stafford's meticulous command, Young's quiet competence, Cernan's adventurous drive. How did they actually mesh together? Because for a mission like this, the teamwork had to be flawless.
It really did. And they gelled incredibly well. Their strengths complemented each other. Stafford the commander, Young the steady hand on the CSM, Cernan the LM expert, eager to push the envelope. There was this synergy, this implicit trust that you saw in all the successful Apollo crews.
More than just colleagues.
Oh, absolutely.
Huh.
They functioned as a single unit. Split-second decisions, clear communication. It was essential. They were a finely tuned instrument, proving that the human element, that teamwork, was just as vital as the technology.
So Apollo 10 didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was the logical next step, right? Building on what came before.
Exactly. It was a direct regression. You think back, Apollo 8, just 5 months earlier, proved humans could get to lunar orbit and back. Monumental.
Showed the navigation worked over those distances.
Right. Then Apollo 9 proved the LM could fly, undock, rendezvous, dock again, all the critical maneuvers, but safely in Earth orbit.
Tested the mechanics close to home.
So Apollo 10 had to take both of those massive achievements and combine them, but crucially do it in the actual lunar environment. Take all the pieces proven separately and test them end to end, where it really counted. Around the moon, close to the moon, no safety net.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. That deliberate decision not to land.
A tough call, you have to imagine, for the crew especially.
I bet. But strategically, why was that non-landing directive so crucial? It wasn't because the LM couldn't, right?
No, the LM was capable.
Yeah.
The thinking was, this allowed them to focus entirely on testing everything else, the procedures, the lunar navigation, the comms, the LM's descent and ascent engines, all within the real lunar gravity, well, the real orbital dynamics.
The actual condition.
Exactly. They faced the real challenges, those weird gravity spots, the lighting, the comm delays, but without the immense added pressure and risk of trying to actually touch down on that first try in a new machine.
It bought them invaluable data.
And protected the LM for Apollo 11. It ensured the ultimate goal could proceed with maximum confidence, not rushing it. Calculated restraint, really.
So what were the specific boxes they absolutely had to tick on this mission?
Oh, the objectives were incredibly precise. First, fully validate the lunar module's performance. Test its engines, its guidance computer, its navigation in the moon's tricky gravity field. Remember the mascons.
Right, those mass concentrations that mess with orbits.
Exactly. Makes precise flying much harder than around Earth. Second, the rendezvous radar test. Critically important. Proving the LM could find and track the command module from far away after ascent, if that failed.
Game over for the LM crew.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Third, that low-altitude reconnaissance. Flying Snoopy down to 9 miles over the Apollo 11 site for mapping, checking for hazards, getting eyes on the actual terrain.
Ground truth.
Vital ground truth. Fourth, test the entire ground control system, tracking, communications, the whole network for a full landing sequence. And finally, maybe most importantly for the next step, give the astronauts that crucial hands-on experience flying, navigating, communicating in the real lunar environment. Build their confidence.
And the psychological stakes. Just immense, weren't they? The whole world watching.
Holding its breath.
Knowing Apollo 11 could be it. The pressure on Stafford, Young, Cernan, and everyone at NASA, it must have been unbelievable.
Unimaginable pressure. Apollo 10 simply had to work. Flawlessly. It had to prove everything was ready.
Any major hiccup could have set the landing back months, maybe longer.
Or even jeopardized it. As Cernan said, they could taste the landing, but they had to hold back. It just shows incredible discipline, focusing on the program's success over that immediate temptation.
Let's talk about the hardware, the tools of the trade for this mission.
Right, the spacecraft themselves. First, you have the Command and Service Module, CSM, call sign Charlie Brown. This was the mothership, essentially.
Hmm.
Transport, living quarters, life support, and the ride home.
The same basic design used before.
Yes, refined after Apollo 7 and 8, proven reliable.
Mhm.
And John Young had sole responsibility for it while the others were away in the LM, ensuring all its complex systems were go, especially during those hours he was alone. He was the lifeline back to Earth.
And then the star of the show, in a way, the lunar module, Snoopy.
The crucial landing craft. Unique two-stage design, right? Descent stage to get down, ascent stage to get back up, each with its own engine.
And this was its first flight in lunar orbit.
First time ever. Facing the real lunar environment, the gravity, the orbital quirks, the radiation, completely different from Earth orbit. Snoopy was the one that pushed right down to the surface, testing those landing dynamics without actually landing. The ultimate test run for an alien environment.
And the names Charlie Brown and Snoopy, where did they come from?
It was just a wonderful touch of humanity, wasn't it? From the
Yeah.
Peanuts comic strip, hugely popular then, it made these incredibly complex machines, this dangerous mission, feel a bit more relatable, maybe less intimidating for the public.
A nice connection back to Earth.
Exactly. A bit of lightheartedness in a very serious business.
And powering it all, the mighty Saturn V.
Can't forget the Saturn V. We've talked about its power before. Flawless again for Apollo 10, lifting that enormous stack, over 6 million pounds, off the pad at Launch Complex 39B, putting it perfectly on course for the moon. Just an incredible machine.
Launch day itself, May 18th, 1969. Must have been electric.
Oh, absolutely. Huge crowds, massive anticipation. Everyone knew this was the final hurdle before the landing attempt. Watching that Saturn V climb off the pad.
The sound, the vibration.
Unbelievable power. 7.5 million pounds of thrust. Pushing Apollo 10 up through the atmosphere into Earth orbit. A truly awe-inspiring sight, a real visible step towards that lunar goal.
So once they're in Earth orbit, the next big step is heading for the moon.
That's the translunar injection, TLI. A critical burn using the Saturn V's third stage, the SIVB. About 6 minutes long.
And incredibly precise.
Astonishingly precise.
Huh.
A tiny error in thrust or direction, and you could miss the moon completely, or need huge fuel-burning corrections later. The calculations involved, the navigation, hitting a moving target hundreds of thousands of miles away. It's mind-boggling.
Then the 3-day trip out, is that just coasting?
Well, coasting sounds passive, but they were busy. Constant system checks, navigation updates using star sightings, watching the moon get bigger and bigger
Filling the windows.
until it dominated their view. Stark, beautiful. It was a period of building anticipation, knowing what lay ahead in lunar orbit. Just the hum of the spacecraft in the silence.
And arriving at the moon, they have to slow down to get into orbit.
That's lunar orbit insertion, LOI. Another absolutely critical engine burn, this time using the service module's engine. They had to do it on the far side of the moon.
Out of contact with Earth.
Completely out of contact. Just the crew and the onboard computers running on pre-programmed instructions and their own skill. About a 6-minute burn to slow down just enough for lunar gravity to capture them into orbit. Get that wrong. And you either crash into the moon or skip off back into space.
Nail-biting stuff.
Immense precision required,
Yeah.
but they nailed it. Apollo 10 was officially in lunar orbit. The dress rehearsal could begin.
Okay, so now they're orbiting the moon. Time for the main event. The lunar module operations.
Right. First, Stafford and Cernan had to get ready to move from Charlie Brown into Snoopy. Meticulous checks. Every switch, every system. Knowing these were the exact steps the Apollo 11 crew would follow. The weight of that must have been something.
Blazing the trail.
Literally. Once the checks were done, came the undocking. Snoopy separating from Charlie Brown.
A big moment.
Huge. They did a visual inspection. Stafford and Cernan looked over Charlie Brown. John Young looked over Snoopy, make sure everything looked okay after the journey. And then, imagine it, Stafford and Cernan, alone in this small LM orbiting the moon.
Yeah,
Cernan called it like being in a goldfish bowl. Just blackness outside and the moon rushing past underneath. Utterly alone, but tethered by the mission.
So after undocking, they needed to change orbit to get lower.
Exactly. That was the descent orbit insertion, or DOI, the first burn of Snoopy's descent engine. This put them into an elliptical orbit, simulating the path Apollo 11 would take, bringing them down to that lowest point,
Closer than anyone had been in a lander.
setting the stage for that incredible low pass.
Which brings us to the real heart of it. That 9-mile flyover.
This is the core narrative.
Yeah.
Stafford and Cernan in Snoopy diving towards the moon, the ground rushing past at over 3,000 miles an hour. Stark shadows, craters, boulders.
What were they actually doing down there?
Two main things. Intense visual reconnaissance of the Apollo 11 landing zone, Site 2 in the Sea of Tranquility. identifying landmarks, looking for hazards, rocks, craters, slopes, things you couldn't see well from higher orbit. Cernan said they could pick out individual rocks, and reporting it all back in real time, refining the maps for Armstrong and Aldrin. Simultaneously, they were testing the LM's landing radar and navigation systems. Could it accurately figure out their height, their speed, their position over this unfamiliar, uneven terrain? It was vital data gathering.
Proving the systems worked in the real environment.
Conclusively, that detailed mapping was absolutely critical for Apollo 11 safety.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing down there, was it? There was the snooping incident.
Yes. A moment of high drama. They're just 9 miles up, everything's going well, and they're testing the LM's abort guidance system, a backup system. Suddenly, Snoopy just starts gyrating wildly, tumbling.
Oh, man.
Cernan's famous son of a bee on the radio loop. The LM was spinning, completely out of control for a few seconds.
What happened?
Stafford, cool as ever, instantly figured it out. A switch was in the wrong position, confusing the computer during that specific test sequence. He grabbed manual control, and together he and Cernan wrestled Snoopy back stable within seconds.
Incredible flying under pressure.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. That terrifying moment, it was exactly why they did these dress rehearsals. It proved the crew could handle a major emergency. It showed the manual controls worked. And crucially, it identified a procedural glitch they fixed before Apollo 11 flew.
So, a scary moment, but incredibly valuable.
Precisely. A stark reminder of the risks, but also a validation of the training and the hardware backups.
So after the low pass, the drama, and gathering all that data, it was time to simulate lifting off.
Right. Ascent stage ignition, firing Snoopy's ascent engine. This separated the top half, the ascent stage, from the descent stage, which was left behind in orbit. Now, Stafford and Cernan had to fly just the ascent stage back up to rendezvous with Charlie Brown.
Which involved finding John Young again.
Finding him and matching orbits perfectly. A complex dance using rendezvous radar to track Charlie Brown, optical sightings through the window, and a series of very precise engine burns. It was orbital mechanics ballet, hundreds of thousands of miles from Earth.
Proving they could get back from the surface.
Which was, arguably the most critical piece after landing itself, and they nailed it.
And the final step in that phase, docking.
The delicate docking maneuver, guiding Snoopy's ascent stage back to connect with Charlie Brown's docking probe, a secure, airtight seal. Then, open the hatches, equalize the pressure, and Stafford and Cernan climb back into the command module, rejoining John Young.
Mission accomplished for the LM test.
The primary objective completed. All phases of a landing mission, short of the touchdown itself, successfully demonstrated. Huge relief, huge accomplishment.
Now, while all this was happening with Snoopy, John Young wasn't just sightseeing up there in Charlie Brown.
Not at all. His role was solitary, but absolutely vital. He was maintaining Charlie Brown's orbit, making small corrections, constantly running systems checks,
Keeping the mothership healthy.
and acting as the crucial communications relay. Plus, he was the recovery vehicle. His focus had to be total, ensuring Charlie Brown was perfectly positioned and ready the instant Snoopy returned. The anchor, holding everything together.
Was he doing his own reconnaissance from higher up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
While Stafford and Cernan got the close-up view, Young was busy too. He was conducting broader observations, taking photos of potential future landing sites, mapping geological features, gathering data that complemented what the LM crew saw.
Giving them the bigger picture.
Exactly. His higher orbit offered a strategic perspective, valuable science and reconnaissance in its own right. No time was wasted.
And the communications. 3 spacecraft plus Earth. Must have been complex.
Incredibly complex. A constant 3-way conversation. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and Mission Control. Young played a key part in relaying information, making sure everyone knew the status, position, health of both vehicles. Testing that whole comms network under real lunar conditions was another major achievement of Apollo 10.
Okay, so Snoopy's back, the crew's reunited. Time to head home.
Time for the Trans-Earth Injection, TEI. The final big engine burn. Using the service module's engine again, fired at just the right moment to kick them out of lunar orbit and onto the precise trajectory back to Earth.
The beginning of the end of the mission.
And a moment of great satisfaction, I'm sure. Their lunar work was done, and done successfully. Now for the 3-day trip back.
Was the return journey pretty routine?
Largely uneventful, thankfully, which speaks volumes about the reliability of the spacecraft and the accuracy of that TEI burn. They did final science observations, housekeeping chores, prepared the command module for the fiery plunge back to Earth. A time to reflect, probably.
And then the final act, re-entry.
Always dramatic. The command module separates from the service module, hits the atmosphere like a meteorite, heat shield glowing, thousands of degrees, intense G-forces.
Must feel like being inside a fireball.
Essentially, yes. Then the parachutes deploy drogues first, then the big mains slowing them down for a gentle splashdown, usually in the Pacific. Navy recovery forces right there, plucking them out of the water. Mission complete.
And the verdict back at NASA.
Overwhelming success. Unequivocal. Every single critical system, every procedure needed for a lunar landing had been tested and proven in the real environment.
And the data they brought back, how crucial was that for Apollo 11?
This is where it gets really interesting. The data, especially from Snoopy's low pass, was pure gold for the Apollo 11 planners. It confirmed the landing site was viable, helped them refine navigation charts, pinpoint the safest touchdown zones.
Gave Armstrong and Aldrin a much clearer picture.
Absolutely. It gave them unprecedented, first-hand knowledge of what awaited them just weeks later. Apollo 10 basically removed almost all the major technical question marks about whether the systems could do the job.
So when we talk about Apollo 10's legacy, it really is that vital bridge to Apollo 11, isn't it?
Indisputably. It wasn't just a step. It was the final essential proof of concept. It showed the whole system worked. CSM, LM, ground control procedures, crew training, all integrated, all reliable, tested in the ultimate proving ground around the moon. It built that rock-solid confidence.
Turned hope into expectation.
Precisely. It made Apollo 11 feel not just possible, but achievable with high confidence.
What were the key specific technologies it really locked down?
Well, the big ones were the LM's descent and ascent in actual lunar gravity never done before, the rendezvous radar proving it could find its way back, the navigation techniques needed for precision maneuvering near the moon, and the whole ground control system stressed under the most realistic conditions possible before an actual landing. It signed off on the entire system's readiness.
And that psychological aspect?
Huh.
Being so close, but holding back?
That almost there factor. Imagine being Stafford or Cernan 9 miles up, looking at terrain you could land on. But your orders are clear. Hold back.
Incredible discipline.
It really was. It fueled anticipation for Apollo 11 for sure, but it also demonstrated this amazing focus from the crew and planners on the bigger strategic goal. The success of the program trumped the allure of being first down. That says a lot.
Did Apollo 10 contribute much scientifically beyond the engineering tests?
While it wasn't primarily a science mission, yes, it did. That low-altitude reconnaissance provided brand-new visual data, refined the maps, helped identify interesting features, and improved landing site safety analysis for future missions. It was valuable precursor science, paving the way for the detailed geology to come.
So it really hit all the main goals of Project Apollo, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It showcased the technology, pushed the U.S. right to the brink of preeminence in space, enabled the future science by proving the tools worked, and crucially, developed that human capability, the skills, the procedures, the confidence to operate successfully around the moon. A monumental step across the board.
When you look back, it's just an incredible story of human spirit, isn't it?
It truly is. The courage of the crew, taking those risks, accepting that restraint, and the dedication of those thousands on the ground, the engineers, scientists, technicians, controllers, pouring everything they had into making this incredibly complex, risky mission work. Human ingenuity at its absolute peak.
So wrapping up our deep dive today, Apollo 10 stands out, doesn't it? Not just another mission, but that pivotal, make-or-break final step. The near-perfect dress rehearsal that proved everything was ready.
Absolutely. And connecting this to the bigger picture, Apollo 10's success meant the path to the moon was clear. The major questions remaining weren't really about the hardware anymore, or the basic procedures in lunar orbit.
They'd answered those.
They had. The big unknowns left for Apollo 11 were the actual powered descent to touch down that very final phase and the liftoff from the surface. Apollo 10 made those final steps seem not just possible, but confidently achievable by proving everything leading up to them. The biggest question mark became the execution of that very last, delicate landing phase.
This raises an important question. For you personally, what stands out as the most impressive aspect of Stafford and Cernan's discipline? Being right there, knowing they could land, but sticking to the plan for the greater good. What does that tell us about strategic patience in achieving huge goals, maybe even beyond spaceflight?
That's a great question. For me, it's the professionalism, the deep understanding that their mission, Apollo 10, had a specific, crucial role to play in the overall program. It wasn't about individual achievement, even one as monumental as landing on the moon. It was about ensuring the program's ultimate success, which meant meticulously gathering data and improving systems for the next crew. That level of focus, that commitment to the team goal over personal glory, especially under those circumstances, is profoundly impressive. It speaks volumes about the importance of clear objectives, trust in leadership, and incredible personal discipline in any complex, high-stakes endeavor. You have to keep your eye on the ultimate prize, even when a tempting intermediate one is right there.
An incredible discipline indeed. And for you, our listener, what aspect of that restraint and focus resonates most strongly? Something to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the pivotal mission that was Apollo 10. We hope you'll reflect on the sheer audacity, the meticulous planning, and the human determination that defined these early lunar missions as we, like the world back then, look ahead to what comes next, the mission that truly changed everything.